And yes, we are live. What's up, G Show land, and welcome to another episode of the G Show podcast. I am G1, and this is the Star Wars Geek Out, where we are going to talk about Star Wars and all the fun stuff that's happening in a galaxy far, far away, or Disneyland World, wherever the hell they're filming this stuff. Joining me for the first time in a very long time, the person who jump-started these podcasts back in 2014, I think, like 6 years ago, we started rocking on YouTube. My brother G95, aka Matt. Matt, my bro, what is up? I miss you.
I missed you too, man. It's been way too long.
Way too long. I think last time, 2020's been fucking crazy. So I think the last time I remember like doing anything with you, I don't think it was the 2019 movie review, was it?
I think it was.
Good God Almighty, bro! That was almost a whole year. Well, it's not like we could do that this year because honestly, what the hell are we going to talk about? Tenet?
Yeah, seriously. I think I've seen like less than 30 movies this whole year, like from 2020.
Good Lord, man! What the fuck came out this year? I don't even know what came out this year, to be honest with you. Like,
there's some good stuff. There's some really good stuff.
Oh yeah, right. So like at the beginning of the year, I remember just the Invisible Man. That's
a little Underwater was really cool.
Oh my God, dude, I just watched that movie like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's great.
That ending caught me so off guard.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, you know my motto, right? If there's a giant monster in it, it automatically gets a pass.
All right. How could I forget?
Independence Day Resurgence, which I just watched like on Thanksgiving too. I don't care. Yeah, giant monster, automatic pass. Dude, that movie was way better than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, seriously.
Surprise! Hey, I think that might be my movie for 2020. But yeah, we're not talking about the movies. We're talking about Star Wars. Star Wars Mandalorian Season 2 is here. There's a ton of things that Disney just dropped in terms of Star Wars. Something that I raised my eyebrows and I'm very excited for. Rogue Squadron from Patty Jenkins. I can't wait for that. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, bro, let's play catch up real quick. I mean, The Mandalorian Season 2 is probably the most exciting thing going on in Star Wars right now. It definitely ain't the freaking video game that came out, Squadrons, which absolutely sucks, and it was misleading, and honestly, I want my money back, but I can't get it because I bought it digitally. What a stupid moron on my part. But anyhow, what are your thoughts on Mandalorian as a whole, and of course, what's going on in Season 2?
So Season 1, I was kind of coming in and out of it. I was watching, most of the time I'd watch it with my friends, day of the premiere, and I'd tend to fall asleep during it, because it was, it's Friday night, it's the end of the work week, it's winter time, so it's dark at 4:30 now, and have a few drinks and whatnot, and then I'd usually pass out during the episode. But this season has been fucking stellar. I mean, there's been a lot of episodes that have been, like, a few episodes that were pretty non-essential, like the Ice Spider episode, as fan servicey to the concept art from the original movie was. Like, as cool as that was, it's still just like a Ice Spider episode. It's fine. But like when it's been good, it's been so fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, the attention to the lore, the expansion of the lore, if you will, has been spot on. I mean, they have seriously, they've taken Star Wars once again and just built upon what it is at its core, outside of the Jedi stuff, and I love it. And even in like this particular season, they go into some Jedi lore to an extent, but it's there. It all ties together. I agree. I remember that second episode came out with the Ice Fighters, and everybody was saying, "Oh, this is gonna have something, of major importance later on. This is gonna be, you gotta pay attention to this episode." Nothing came from it. Nothing at all. And it was cool. It was a cool episode, but nothing happened in that episode at all. I agree. There's definitely more hits than misses this season. I know you didn't watch this past week's episode. I don't know. I was kind of like, okay, I didn't. I'll tell you this.
When you have two of like the two best episodes so far back to back, eventually that high is gonna like come down. eventually you're going to hit the peak of the roller coaster.
Yeah,
But
that
you know,
is true.
there's still more time in the season, so it'd come back.
Well, there's only one episode left.
Well, there's one episode left of the season, so it could come back.
Yeah, it's gonna have to come back harder and strong. And I just found out, according to the Disney press conference this past week, the the season 3 is not coming back until next year December. So, like the penultimate episode of season 2 left me wanting. There was one thing I will say, it's not spoiling nothing, but there was one thing that absolutely grinded my gears with this past episode I didn't like, which was the way this Imperial officer, this person in power, if you will, was talking. He had like this cowboy drawl, and I'm like, wait a minute, that is not Imperial, Imperial mannerisms. Like, it doesn't matter that it's an Imperial Remnant. It doesn't matter at all. This dude should not be speaking like he's a cowboy. And this dude speaking like he was a cowboy, it did not fit, did not work. I was like, no way. This superior officer is gonna talk like a. It didn't make no damn sense whatsoever. And I was kind of like, nah. Outside of that, it was, a decent episode, had a decent amount of action, which I give props to. But overall, like, it was one of those episodes that was just kind of like, okay, this was one of those throwaway episodes of the season. But let's talk about the episodes that really fucking rocked. Like,
Please.
Ahsoka Tano. Okay. We gotta go back first. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Bo-Katan and how that all tied in, the Mandalorian stuff, to, Clone Wars. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Rebels had them, they were on Rebels also.
Yeah, no, there was a big Rebels Mandalorian focus in season 4 of the Rebels, I think.
Yeah, all of that tying together and coming to live action, dude, phenomenal stuff. I love the long game, I love the long game, and they definitely are playing the long game. And this goes back to Clone Wars, to Rebels, to now in Mandalorian. What did you think? Like, were you excited to see them and just setting up even more of the lore? Because, again, at the end of season 1, you got the Darksaber. So that already goes into Mandalorian lore outside of the show being called The Mandalorian. But now to actually see Mandalorians from the animated shows blows my mind.
Yeah, it's really been awesome. Like, they were going to have to address the quote-unquote, like, continuity break of, season 1, the whole thing was, Mandalorians don't take off their helmets. That's their creed. But, like, everybody who's ever watched the Clone Wars, or even Rebels, where a Mandalorian is one of the main characters, everybody's going, wait a minute. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they take off their helmets all the time.
Yep.
So they're going to have to address that eventually, and I think it was so cool to see that be addressed with a character like Bo-Katan, who was, like, I'm rewatching Clone Wars now, and she's plays a pretty big part from where I'm at so far, just as, like, a side member of Death Watch. But like, obviously she gets a much bigger role. She's one of the most memorable Mandalorians, and it's been just so cool to see that world expand into live action, and I'm really hoping that sooner or later they really, like, fundamentally, Mando is just a religious extremist and he just doesn't realize it, and eventually he's going to have to come to terms with that, like, as he's hanging out with Bo-Katan and her squad of Mandalorians, or as he's hanging out with Boba Fett, who's, now canonically again a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
He's gonna have, like, that might be season 3 stuff, but he's obviously gonna have to reckon with the fact that he is a literal religious extremist.
I agree. Speaking of Boba Fett, I mean, listen, my God, man, that episode, Boba Fett's reveal, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but so be it. I mean, it is what it is. But seeing Slave One fly across the landscape, bro. I marked out. Now, here's a quick thing too. I have to watch The Mandalorian very early in the morning to avoid all spoilers, right? Because they just pop up and it gets annoying. And especially because my boy back east, he's watching it already at like 3 a.m. my time. I'm sleeping. He's up at 6 o'clock his time. He's watching it, and then he's sending me text. Shut up, bro. I'm sleeping. So I get up at like 5:30. I throw it on, and I also do it low because I gotta watch it before my wife wakes up because she watches it with me, and then she gets mad when I watch it before her. So I gotta be like, all right, I can't. I have to sneak it. So I watch them at like 5:30 in the morning, dude. I knew Ahsoka was coming, but when I'm telling you, when Slave One showed up, I went. I made such a weird noise at 5:30 in the morning. It's dark. Look, I scared myself. It was so weird. But oh my god, the Boba Fett stuff with the gaffy stick. He was like John Wick, dude. I loved it. I loved it. It was so good. It was so, and I mean, Ahsoka was dope. But like Boba Fett was one of those characters that I don't know how he gains notoriety from just standing around and then getting hit in the back with a stick and falling into the freaking Sarlacc pit. How does that happen?
Well, it's kind of the whole like Snake Plissken thing almost. You just gotta like stand in the corner and look really cool and not really say a whole lot, and you'll get your fucking moment, and you'll go down as a cultural icon. But yeah, my reaction was, well, I mean, I had the same I guarantee you, I made the same fucking noise when I saw it too. But I don't actually see a whole lot of spoilers online, fortunately. Even though I watch it probably about 12 hours after you do, if not more, because I watch it at the end of the night.
Right.
But somebody posted something about that episode just being really like heartbreaking and or something to that effect, and then I see the title card of it being called The Tragedy.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, something's gonna happen. But there was no warning. I didn't get any kind of heads up at all that this was the Boba Fett episode, and so yeah, like being the Star Wars fanboy that I was growing up, and Boba Fett always being my favorite character, like it was a fucking dream come true just to see him just beating the shit out of the stormtroopers, and it was fucking awesome.
So let me ask you, when he goes into the ship and dons the helmet, like, what was your reaction there?
Same noise. It was just a continuous noise the whole episode.
No, I feel you.
It was just pure excitement.
No, I feel you, man. Like that was me. I can't lie. It was dope. And granted, you're not gonna get the entire Boba Fett suit, but for what it was, everything that needed to be there was there, and it was it was so dope. It was so dope. I'm still geeking out over it. But let's talk about Ahsoka because and I'm pretty sure a lot of people felt this way. We knew she was coming. We knew Rosario Dawson was playing her. That news had dropped, a long time ago. Bo-Katan had name dropped her the episode, 2 episodes before. So you think, okay, we're gonna see Ahsoka Tano next week. We don't get that. We get one of those episodes where it's just kind of okay. There was a big reveal in that episode, which was basically they were using the baby's blood and DNA to what looked like create Snoke, which was extremely interesting.
I was thinking, like they were just like modified cloners, basically, not really trying to create a new being, but mostly trying to clone. I'm not gonna call him Grogu. He's Baby Yoda. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
That thing is Grogu. You call him by his damn name. It is a perfect name. It makes sense. It fits the Star Wars universe. Grogu. I love it. And he's not Baby Yoda. He's not Yoda's son.
It's not a bad name, but I don't call the dozen different names that he's gotten over the course of 2 seasons with the asset, the child, Baby Yoda, and now Grogu. also really dislike that when like big time YouTubers, not like us, we're small time.
We're small time.
For now. Big time YouTubers review The Mandalorian. Disney contacts them and tells them that they have to call him the child or Grogu. They cannot call him Baby Yoda, and I think that's kind of fucked up. When Jon Favreau is like seen in an interview as of recently as like last week, I think, calling him Baby Yoda. I'm gonna call him Baby Yoda.
he's not Baby Yoda. He's Baby Yoda species. No, I love Grogu. It's hard. I can't lie though. I can't just like walk around. Hey man, how about that Grogu? No, it's cute little Baby Yoda. It is. It's unfortunate. I can't. But I love Grogu. I love that his name is Grogu. It just it as soon as they said it, I was like, it fits. Yes, Grogu. Why the fuck not? It wasn't like a retarded name. You know what I mean? Like it didn't come out of nowhere. It felt like it fit in the Star Wars universe. But I do have to concede that I still it is Baby Yoda, as much as it's not. But but okay, so you thought that they were just cloning?
Sorry to interrupt, but it's the equivalent to Goku and Kakarot. How about that?
No, it's nowhere near that.
Both names are.
No,
both names are correct.
No, it's not.
Both names are acceptable.
No, that is a poor comparison because it's not.
It certainly is not.
Kakarot is Goku's Saiyan given name, and Goku is Kakarot's Earthbound given name. It's his name. Baby Yoda is. You don't walk around saying, like, let's say if you have a child, I'm not gonna be like, oh, look at, well, you could say it's Baby Matt, because, you know, I do that too, Baby John. Even if it's a boy or a girl, you say, hey, it's the baby father's name, yeah. That's not the point. That's not Yoda's kid. Stop it, Matt. You're making me crazy. Talk about the cloning. So you don't think that they were trying to grow Snoke? You don't think that that was a prototype?
Oh, definitely not. In season 1, I think if I remember correctly, I heard somewhere that the Imperial Remnants that were trying to get, fine, I'll call him Grogu, just to make you happy.
Thank you.
Trying to get Grogu, they had some kind of clone insignia on their uniforms, or some kind of cloner, Kaminoan, whatever,
Yeah.
Cloner insignia on their uniforms. So that makes sense if that's what they were trying to do with him, and that's what they did with a small amount of DNA that they got from him, was attempt to make shit, like clone shit. But they don't have, they had, like, Kamino, in episode 2, they had Jango Fett on site to use as the template for, like, their cloning shit, like, and they had a whole facility. This seems to be, like, a really small group of remnants, Imperial remnants, that are trying to do this. That's just my...
Yeah, it was like their science division.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy, though, like, you think they're trying to create force wielders? Like, and this is because that's what's kind of nuts about it, right? Like, I'm sure they know. All right, Yoda was, the badass Jedi master that Yoda was. So there is this baby from Yoda's species. Maybe it has the same thing. My question is, did they know it was in the Jedi Temple? And that's another thing that I can't wait, for them to answer. It's going to come. Who saved Grogu? Who rescued Grogu from Order 66? I've seen theories out there that's been nuts. Anakin let him go. Like, he saw something in maybe the dark side. Last episode, the ending of the last episode, Baby Yoda, little kid Grogu, he wasn't playing games. He wasn't being a regular Jedi. He was force choking the shit out of them stormtroopers, throwing them around like nothing. I loved it. I was like, uh-oh. So, I don't know, maybe Anakin saw that and was like, I'm going to just bypass this. I've seen some really outlandish things. Maybe it was Mace Windu, which I'll be honest with you, I think Mace Windu's still alive. I think he's going to come back in some form. I honestly believe that. could be Mace Windu. Um, there's a lot of stuff, but yeah, he's he's badass. So let me ask. So again, do you think that like what are their end games? Are they trying to clone Force users? Did they know the Emperor was a Force user? Like I'm confused in regards to that.
I'm my guess is like Moff Gideon is certainly old enough to have seen the Republic in its heyday. He's certainly old enough to have seen the Jedi in action. He's probably like Tarkin, probably an officer in the Clone War. So he probably worked really closely with the Jedi, and maybe worked with like he's a Moff, so I'm sure he had some kind of direct dealings with the Emperor and maybe Vader. So she's like certainly exposed to Force users. So with both of them dead and most of the Jedi eradicated, and him having no way to find Force sensitive kids, he hears word of like one that is Force sensitive. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. I don't think it matters what species it is, whether human, whatever, Grogu and Yoda are, Rodian, whatever. He was probably going to take that and try to clone it so he could have his own Imperial Force wielders again.
Right. I'm looking forward to all that stuff. Do you think Moff Gideon is Force sensitive?
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not either. Good, yeah. We don't need to do that. Okay, big reveal. Grand Admiral Thrawn. You excited to see that live action?
Oh yeah.
Good Lord, have mercy. He
was not handled well in Rebel. He had a couple brief moments of greatness and then was just sent off to hell space.
I think they did that on purpose. I honestly do. Again, I think they were playing the long game, and they were like, we are going to make this show, and we are going to use Grand Admiral Thrawn, and when we do, it's going to make sense. So, and I love this idea also. It kind of, right now, kind of syncs up with the books, the Timothy Zahn books. If Grand Admiral Thrawn comes back, he's coming back from, the Outer Rims. So they could kind of mirror the books, and that to me is fan service for dudes like us who've read those books. I read those books numerous times when I was a teenager. Like I just couldn't get enough. I was like, oh, please make this movie. I loved it. So I think that's fan service to us, for those who've been around for a long time and know that history with Grand Admiral Thrawn, that didn't happen in Rebels. It was a completely different thing. Let me ask you this question. Do you think we'll see Ezra?
I hope not. I really hope not. Ezra sucks. He's such a boring character.
Oh my god. That was
yeah. Like, I don't care about. I just barely even remember what happened to him or where he might have gone at the end of Rebels, because I didn't give a shit. He's such a boring, just like, he's one of the blanket, nameless, faceless, silent video game characters you play in first-person shooter. Because you're supposed to be like the character is supposed to be the audience, and that's what Ezra is. Rebels was a kids show. It was made for 12-year-olds, and they put a fucking like 14-year-old kid who was as boring as most 12-year-olds are as the main character, so they could like see themselves or whatever.
I would give you season 1, yes, but after season 1, no, there was significant growth with Ezra. Significant. And he ended up with Thrawn at the end on the Star Destroyer going to the Outer Rims. He used his space whale friends that travel the hyperspace lanes and zapped them to wherever. And that's one of the things that I loved how Rebels ended, and that leads into Ahsoka being on Mandalorian and the big fat question marks. The way Rebels ended was Ahsoka and Sabine going to now look for Ezra. It was the end of Return of the Jedi. So Mandalorian takes place 5 years later. Ahsoka's on this random planet trying to overthrow a despot, looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Why is she looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn? Is her mission to find and locate Ezra still in play? This is the questions I have. This is why I'm like, is Ezra going to be around? Why is she looking for Thrawn? You know, these.
Sure, it's not. It's I'm more interested in Thrawn coming back than Ezra.
No, yeah.
I don't care about Ezra. He doesn't matter. He's completely inconsequential to Star Wars as a whole. Besides the whole time travel thing, which was beyond stupid.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You better stop that. You better stop that. That was the only way to save the sequel trilogy. You better stop that. It was the only way to save Luke Skywalker. Bring him back. Hashtag bring back Luke. Speaking of bringing back Luke, do you think we're going to see Luke Skywalker season 3?
I doubt it, but it would be cool. I'm really cautious about just throwing like too much fan service out there, just because it becomes just a Ready Player One scenario of remember this, and I don't think that's actually like entertaining. It's like cool. It's kind of go like wow, I remember that, but like it doesn't like it's not good storytelling. So if like Luke Skywalker shows up, cool. If he doesn't, I think it'd probably be better off as a little bit more contained away from the original trilogy and sequel trilogy.
The original trilogy. That's where I was going to go next then. Because it seems like this is going to have more ties to the prequels than anything. I mean, with Grogu being a part of Order 66 or, alive during that time, with Ahsoka now, with Grand Admiral Thrawn within Rebels, the Mandalorians themselves, the Darksaber, all of that plays, that's all prequel era stuff through the shows.
Mm-hmm.
So, while, okay, I'll give you the Luke Skywalker thing. I personally would love to see him. I can't lie. That'll be the nostalgia kick for me, especially if Sebastian Stan is playing him. But I can also see them doing a completely different show with Luke Skywalker, whether it's animated or not, something that has nothing to do with this. And I have to agree with you, keeping it self-contained to the Mandalorian story and the Mandalorian lore and what they're setting up here. Yeah, you're right. You start bringing in all of the fan service like a Luke Skywalker, it does take away from what this show is initially about and what it's doing so well. I mean, you've got Boba Fett now, and don't get me wrong, that's crazy, and it looks like Boba Fett's going to stick around for a bit. And that's definitely fan service. It definitely is fan service.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, Boba Fett being there still doesn't deviate from the mission, and the mission right now is looking for the kid, looking for Grogu. And it doesn't deviate from...
It doesn't affect the overall story of Star Wars.
Exactly. That's true. Well, bringing Luke in wouldn't either, because this is, 5 years after Return of the Jedi? Ben Solo's probably not even born yet. So there's still time to play around in this time.
Yeah, you're right. But also, you start playing in that sandbox, and sooner or later, you're going to start doing shit to alter the primary canon.
Well,
for better or worse.
Isn't that the point, though? I mean, isn't that the point to get rid of those sequel trilogies? Look, I'm very biased when it comes to those sequel trilogies. I can't. As a whole, I like Force Awakens. You know me, I hate The Last Jedi, and I love Palpatine. That's it. I love Palpatine, and that's it. Everything else sucks.
Ultimately, that is Disney's big move with announcing everything that they've just announced, which we'll get into soon, but is to try to get people to forget about the sequel trilogy. But I think all of those stories that were announced really won't affect, like, they don't really plan on having that affect the main
Skywalker saga.
The Skywalker saga much,
right?
If at all. They're going to be live action comic books. The Darth Vader comics were pretty fucking cool, but ultimately didn't have a whole lot of effect on the Skywalker saga besides how Darth Vader figured out Luke Skywalker was his son. That was like the big thing. Everything else was just kind of like, a cool thing that existed in its own little tangent. And I think that is probably the key to success for Star Wars for the short term, for the next couple of years. And then we can, start playing in this bigger sandbox again.
I agree with that. I don't have any disagreements, and I actually love that's the way they should do it. And that was one of the things about Star Wars when Disney bought it, was when they started to announce the branch offs. It's a war in space. It's not just set here. It's all over the place, and that's why I love. I really dug Rogue One behind that. Getting into all the stuff they announced, and speaking of Rogue One, what do you think about this Cassian Andor thing? Because I gotta be honest with you, that's just not something I really care to see.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it, obviously, but
because like that era, exploring that era of the like the height of the Empire is really interesting. But Cassian Andor was my least favorite character in Rogue One.
absolutely, it was my man Bodhi.
Yeah, he was so boring. But I'll take it. I'll take some more, Empire era stuff. We'll never ever get it, but I would love to see some stuff from the Empire's perspective. Just because, there's some books like that. They're pretty interesting. I mean, there's even that one or two episodes of Rebels where, like I don't remember who. I think Padme and Ahsoka went to some planet that was sided with the Separatists, and they're like, we're not bad people. We just have a different viewpoint than the Republic. We just don't agree with their politics. And I think that's kind of interesting.
Right.
But we'll never ever get that. It's always going to be like rebel focused stuff, because the Empire is the bad guys at the end of the day.
Which it's crazy because Mandalorian doesn't have to stick to that at all. It could totally go in different places. Season 1 was proof of that. Yeah, it was the Imperial Remnant was like the bigger overall picture. But I mean, think about like them the bounty hunter. Oh, it's shit. The second episode of this season, him just going on a mission to bring this, alien species home, so she can, have her children with a husband. Things like that. I like that. And with the Mandalorian, I mean, he's a bounty hunter. That's his trade. We could get Cowboy Bebop in the Star Wars universe. I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm.
I am all for that. But I would actually really do. I would like to see an Imperial themed show. And you're right. We probably will never get that because that's not. You don't want to sympathize. Oh my God, with the Imperials.
Yeah, especially in this day and age.
That's right. Choke on my juice here. Damn you.
Yeah, it's maybe not the best time for pro Imperial stuff.
Yeah. Star Wars is going on vacation for about 2 years now. Oh my God. But
I would like to see more stuff. Just and I think that's ultimately what they're just testing right now with all the shit that's being announced. Is a lot of stuff that coincides with the movies that can be like a companion piece to, broaden Rogue One, to kind of see the birth of the New Republic post Jedi, but also doing the side stories of just like inconsequential shit like the Acolyte, or the anime. The
Visions?
Visions, yeah, the anime one, which is certainly going to be completely unconnected, is probably just going to be like just cool shit happening.
Yeah, it's like that Batman Gotham Knights or the Matrix.
Yeah,
I
but
forgot what they
hopefully
called
good,
it.
because both of those were bad.
But Gotham Knights had some moments. Stop that.
No, it didn't. No,
yes,
it was
it did.
But and then they're doing the fan service, the pure fan service stuff. like the Kenobi, like the Ahsoka show. That's just because we want to see awesome stuff.
So let me ask you, like, how do you even do an Ahsoka show? That she's not dying, and she needs to end up dead sometime. Like, she's not Maz Kanata, which I thought she was. She's not. She's gonna need to end up dead within the next 20 years in canon. So what do we do with Ahsoka? Like, is it a one season and done season? Do we have a grand plan? I'm lost. Listen. I loved, first off, when she came and in that in that episode with Ahsoka, and she was in the first 10 seconds. I lost it because I thought she was going to be only at the last 3 minutes of the show. And it was glorious. I was like, look at this, Ahsoka on the screen in real life, live action. It's great. What do we do with a whole show? What do you think they're doing with that? I have no clue what they're going to do. Does Vader kill Ahsoka?
It's way too early to tell.
Oh wait, Vader can't kill Ahsoka. He's dead. My bad.
Yeah, Vader's already dead.
Duh.
Yeah, it's just way too early to tell. I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this. Not during Mando, but Ahsoka. That's going to be a Jedi-centric show. Luke Skywalker there.
Think so? I mean, she's not a Jedi.
She's not a Jedi. Order. She's still a Force user. She can teach Luke a thing or two.
Yeah.
She was Luke's father's apprentice. That's in its own right is worthy of an episode or two.
For sure, but also like she left the Order for a reason. Like she doesn't give a shit about the Jedi Order.
And Luke is not that Jedi Order. I don't know. We know that Dave Filoni's actually showrunning that, and Dave Filoni I trust with Star Wars wholeheartedly. I see his name. It's all yours, Dave. Take it away. And that's his character, So this is going to be sick. I'll tell you that much. I'm going to love this show. But what do you think of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Hayden Christensen? I mean, not that it matters that Hayden Christensen's coming back as Darth Vader. But what do you think? Because, this is an argument I have with my boy all the time when it comes to Star Wars. Anything that happens with the characters of the Skywalker saga within the original trilogy, to me, it doesn't matter because I know where they all end up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, you mentioned the Darth Vader comics. I have this conversation / argument with my boy all the time. I don't want to read any of that stuff. I don't want to be sympathetic to Darth Vader at all because when I saw Darth Vader for the first time, my young, child mind was like, oh my God, that is the scariest thing in the entire galaxy. And that's what Darth Vader should be until the redemption at the end of Return of the Jedi, which is so fucking dope and why that's my favorite freaking Star Wars movie. So trying to, humanize Vader in certain aspects in the comic book, I don't want to see that. I understand that there's a struggle there. They say it, they show it on the screen. I got that all that's there. So, which brings me to Kenobi. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, so this is going to be 10 years between before A New Hope. That's where this show is going to happen. You really can't have Vader and Kenobi fight. Darth Maul's already dead. What are we doing? And that's
actually, Darth Maul should be alive at that point.
Yeah, but you're gonna have him run up against Obi-Wan?
He could run up against Vader.
You don't think Vader would have cut him down? I'm telling you, I think I told you this a lot. I have this Star Wars Tales comic. It is one of my favorite things. It's Vader against Maul, and it's Maul. It's Darth Maul. It's not a trick or nothing. It's Darth Maul. They brought him back. They resurrected him, and Vader kills him, and it was fantastic. You don't think Vader would just okay, you're not the guy anymore. You haven't been the guy since I was 8 years old. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. But also, there's that Lando reveal. They're going to do a Lando show, which I'm pretty sure is set in the Solo universe, which I'm pretty sure, because Lando's he's a dirty guy. He's a grimy dude. If anything, you'll see Maul in that.
Yeah.
because Maul
I
is
mean,
running
look,
the Black Sun
I
Order.
heard some people saying that they should have announced like Solo 2 instead of some of these things, but
Solo too.
I mean, this is probably how they're gonna do the Solo 2. Like, that's probably how they're gonna wrap up any like loose ends with Lando, especially if it's only one season.
Yeah.
Because like, people say that Solo was a failure. It really wasn't. It was one of the highest grossing movies of that year. It just was a disappointment for. It was two disappointments, Star Wars disappointments in a row for Disney. Um, but it was very okay. It was very safe. It was incredibly safe and forgettable. But
Forgettable.
like
That's
they
the
could
word.
easily tie up all of those loose ends in Lando. They could do all the because Darth Maul is so popular right now. He's so hot right now. And Filoni obviously loves him, and Filoni obviously probably has a big say in whatever happens in all of these shows, whether or not he's the showrunner. So, there's a good chance that Darth Maul will show up at any given point in a lot of these shows that he could reasonably appear.
Yeah, I
Show
think.
up in could for some fucking reason show up in Mandalorian. He could show up in
Nah,
Ahsoka. He could show up in Lando. He could show up in fucking a lot of these shows.
he's dead in Mandalorian. He's been dead for 20 years already.
Yes, yes, he is. But you see those lists online of like 21 reasons Darth Maul could show up in Mandalorian.
Oh
And
wow.
like
I
it's
haven't
not
seen any of them.
impossible.
I gotta look for that now.
Okay, well,
I
yeah,
want to see some
there's a million
reasons.
lists out there, and like as we've seen, nothing is impossible in Star Wars.
Listen, the only way he can show up is if they use that crux, the MacGuffin that they have in Rebels, and go use the Force Time Warp. I'm down with that.
Well,
I love that thing.
it's either that or um, they go down the clone road, which is always very viable.
That's the one thing I don't like, because then you could clone anybody. Hey, let's clone Darth Vader and bring him back. Oh my God, Vader's here. Oh, let's clone. And it wouldn't even be Vader, honestly. It'd be Anakin. Oh, let's. What if Ahsoka's a clone? Holy shit, that would be nuts. Let's clone Luke Skywalker and bring him back. I'm okay with that. No, I'm not though. I don't. The clone thing to me is such an easy cop out. I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, it is. It is, but it's viable.
Yeah.
It's an option, and if there is a halfway reasonable option, somebody at some point in time is going to take it.
They set it up in Mandalorian. They set it up. They said, look, we're going to just ease them into cloning everybody, because here's a cloning facility. We're using the kids' DNA. I hate it. I do like the idea of Darth Maul coming to being in the Lando series, because again, that was the one thing that I was like, it wasn't even like shocking, or it was good to see Maul back on the screen. He's alive during that time. I was really, really happy and satisfied. But what really made me happy was the fact that he was the leader of the Black Sun organization. I was like, oh my God, he's running this criminal empire, right underneath the Empire's nose. I love that idea, and that within Lando and Han Solo, before the rebellion, I should say. Yeah, if they're gonna go and explore those options, the grimy, seedy stuff, I'm so down for Lando. I want that then, and I would love to see more pop up there, because that would be freaking dope.
And also, like, who's to say that these spin-offs stop with what Disney just announced? It won't.
Oh, well.
Like, so if Solo is the precursor to Lando, could be the precursor to a Maul show or a Death Watch show, or Mandalorian is just precursor to Ahsoka precursor to Thrawn, or whatever the fuck comes next.
Yeah.
So Disney sees a viable option right now. They see money with putting shit on Disney Plus. They see their future getting away from the sequel trilogy on people's televisions, they're gonna take those like they're gonna go where they think the money is. So I would fully expect some kind of mall centered content in the next couple of years.
What do you think about the Bad Batch getting its own?
Oh, great! That's probably the thing I'm most excited for.
I gotta be honest, like
that and Kenobi, it looks awesome.
I didn't like the Bad Batch episodes of the final season. I didn't hate it, but I was kind of like, yeah, all right, okay. You know,
I still haven't seen the final season.
What?
Yeah. Well, I told you I'm rewatching Clone Wars. I'm working my way through it.
Okay, I got you. I can't be mad at you.
So I can watch season 7. I didn't want to just watch season 7 cold after not watching the Clone Wars for 5 years.
They do a really good job with the recaps. Previously on the Clone Wars, they fine. But no, I got you. That's actually probably the best way of doing it.
Also, since the Disney buyout, those Clone Wars Blu-rays are hard to find, so I'm trying to get my money's worth with them.
I'm not mad at you. So wait, why are you so excited for the Bad Batch if you've never even seen those episodes?
Just because it looks cool.
Okay, I ain't mad at you.
Cool.
That's a perfect reason enough. All right, yeah, the Bad Batch. There were some things I saw in there that I was kind of like, oh my goodness, like this is the type of Star Wars I want to see. And if you could only do it animated form, fine, so be it. I'm with it. So yeah, my eyebrows raised. I was like, oh, all right, because like I said, the initial Bad Batch episodes, I was like, all right, it's a Commandos. I'm rejected Commandos. I'm not mad at it at all. It was all right. It was for what it was. It was the final arc of that final season that I was like, here we go. But just the Order 66 thing, that is the one place that I really have fun with in Star Wars is Order 66 because I played the Jedi game that came out either earlier this year.
Fallen Order?
Yeah, Fallen Order. That's the one, right? And you play at a particular part in that game through Order 66, and I thought that was fantastic. I was like, oh, shit! I love that. So seeing that happen in the Bad Batch, and you're not there yet, but obviously you know it's going to happen at the end of Rebels. It has to. I mean, Clone Wars, I mean, it just has to, right?
Well, I mean, they begin to cover it in the shortened Season 6, I think. Sometime in Season 5 or Season 6, they cover some Order 66 stuff.
I think that was the malfunctioning of the chips in the clone's head.
Yeah, which is the like what leads up to Order 66, obviously.
Right. So I mean, all that stuff. It's definitely good. I can't wait for you to finish because we could definitely have that conversation then. What do you think of Rangers of the New Republic? Another show set in Mandalorian timeline.
Probably the least interested in that one, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because personally I find shows just centered around the good guys to be boring.
Okay.
I'm a root for the bad guy kind of guy.
Right.
Because they're always way more interesting. So a show just set around like pilots and their space adventures, while could be really cool, just kind of sounds boring. And from what we've seen of these Rangers so far in The Mandalorian, it doesn't seem too interesting.
See, I don't think that's going to be snub fighter type of thing. I think it's like a military wing of the New Republic. And what I think, and this is why I'm like very optimistic, is I think Rex is going to be on that show. Because Dave Filoni, he said, hey, remember that guy in Return of the Jedi? And this guy always stood out. I always called him Santa Claus when I was a kid. But the guy in Return of the Jedi that's there at the end on Endor, he's got the beard. And then in Rebels, they gave Rex a beard. And he was like, oh yeah, it's the same. It's Rex. Rex is still alive. Yes, Rex the clone is in Return of the Jedi canon. I think Rex is going to pop up. And the only reason why I say that is because he's a clone of Jango Fett. And Boba Fett is now a Mandalorian, which means you have the actor. And why not get paid twice? Let's do another show. And instead of being Boba Fett, he's playing Rex. Give him a bit. So that's the only, because he was a Ranger, basically, in Return of the Jedi. They were the Army Rangers of the Republic, if you will, fighting on Endor. And if Rex is now retconned into being that dude, and you have the actor playing Boba Fett, you have the actor still. I think you're going to see Rex in that. I'm excited for it. I don't know though. I think that is going to be a Gina Carano ran show. I'm not sure if it's going to focus on her because I don't know if she's going to, decide to leave her post on the planet they're on now and start running with the Republic or stay on the planet and do what she does, on the Mandalorian. Just pop up whenever need be. But that's what I think, and that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I really am hoping for. Because I would love to see Rex in a live action show. And just like the military branch of the Republic, what are they doing? They're going to just mop up the remnants? I don't know, but they have to have a plan. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good. It might be good. It probably will be good. But am I excited for it? No.
Let's talk about the one, the Acolyte. That was it, right? Yeah. Now that show, if I'm not mistaken, that show is going in a completely different direction. I know that's probably something more up your alley because it's going to focus on the Sith.
Yeah.
But from what I'm
it's High Republic era stuff.
Okay. So this is way back when.
Mm-hmm.
See, so what I heard, and I don't know, I was like, of course, taking it with a grain of salt, was this was the show that was gonna be Star Wars, but not really be Star Wars, if you know what I mean. Like, they're taking all of the Star Wars tropes and stuff, and they're gonna use everything that you would associate with Star Wars. But they were also gonna say this is a different universe, an alternate timeline, something different. Now, I don't know how true that is. Again, that comes from some very questionable YouTube channels, if you will.
Well, all we have right now is the title card and Disney's very, very brief description of what it is.
But if I'm not mistaken, this isn't the one with the showrunner is Harvey Weinstein's ex-assistant or something like that. I forget the woman's name.
I would sure doubt it, but I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, because I think that's what I saw. I saw a picture of the Acolyte title card, which I like the logo a lot, actually. I think that's fantastic. And then her next to it. So I was like, wait, is this the one that they've been, like, kind of shitting on the entire year? Like, I would say the beginning half of this year. There was a lot of things going on when Rise of Skywalker really didn't do what Disney thought it was going to do. And then there was a lot of beef within, Star Wars. They call it for Kathleen Kennedy's head. She hires this woman. We're going to make this Star Wars-centric show. That's not really... It's going to change Star Wars. We're going in a different direction. That was a lot of backlash. And then it just fell off.
I wouldn't hold this show to anything you heard by proxy 6 months ago,
right
before it even got announced. Like, I wouldn't tamper your expectations based on that. But the official synopsis is the show will focus on the emergence of dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era.
That's dope.
So, like, that's not enough to make any big speculations on in terms of quality or what exactly we'll expect to see.
Right.
So I wouldn't go down that road of it's going to change Star Wars. It's going to... I wouldn't go down that road.
No, that's why I said, like, that was 6 months ago, and then it did fall off, and it wasn't until the other day I saw a picture of the Acolyte title card and then a picture of the lady that was associated with all of that stuff. I didn't watch it. I didn't look at it. I just saw that, and I'm like, is this that show that they were talking about 6 months ago? But that little synopsis right there, that sounds dope. Like, that's something I definitely want to see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is crazy because I guess we'll just have to wait and see. What are they fighting? If it's not the Sith, if it's not dark side powers, what are they fighting? Is it like some alien race that is, the Force doesn't bother. I have no clue. It's very interesting to see what they're going to do. But they,
I mean, it could be this could be the Darth Revan show.
yeah, I guess so. See, I was never into the Old Republic. I never got into it. Things that happened in the past happened in the past. I was more into, like, I couldn't wait for um, Darth Vader, the birth of Vader. I wanted to see all that. We got the prequels. They are what they are. But anything that took place like in the Old Republic, I never got into it. It just they again, I know where everything ends up. I don't need to know what happened then. It wasn't like exciting to me. But that's not to say it's not a big thing because I am in a strict
you gotta keep
minority.
in mind that there's literal thousands of years in between the High Republic and the Republic that we came to know in the prequels. Like thousands and thousands of years. The Empire only existed for, like 25 years.
Yeah,
So,
I get all that,
so I
and
mean, that's a lot of room for huge, awful cataclysms to happen and like really interesting stories.
I totally get all that. And my whole thing is like, it's just me. Like I'm a timeline type of dude. With anything, not just Star Wars. So like, anything that's already happened after what I've already seen, I don't know. It doesn't interest me. If it's not like referenced, like the Clone Wars, for instance. The Clone Wars was referenced in A New Hope. I'm like, what's the Clone Wars? I want to see the Clone Wars. I want to see the Clone Wars. And I had to wait about 20-something years to see the Clone Wars. It is what it is. But, so that's what I mean by like, and I get it, yeah, 1,000 years, and we were, in the Empire time, it's just this much, as opposed to this grand thing. It's like The Hobbit. I didn't care how Bilbo got the ring. Like, honestly, I just wanted to see them throw the damn ring in the volcano. But I digress. That all being said, I will watch this show because that is interesting. That is an interesting concept. I want to see how the dark side comes about. I want to see what type of alchemy is used, if any, during that. It seems to be more of a fantastical show instead of like a science fiction fantasy. And I'm looking forward to. The unfortunate thing is that they give a date.
No, not that I saw. I mean, all these shows are coming out within the next 2 years.
Man, once this funky pandemic is under control and people could actually go back out and start filming and making these things happen, and hopefully things are expedited without losing quality, I'm okay with all of that. So one of the last things, and I mean, this one caught me completely off guard, being such a stupid fan of, like, I'm a huge fan of Rogue Squadron, but having Patty Jenkins come in to direct, first off, I thought it was going to be a show. So I was like, oh my god, a Rogue Squadron show? But then when I found out it was actually going to be a Rogue Squadron movie, stop. And what's killing me is, to me, Rogue Squadron is Wedge. Wedge is one of my favorite characters. It's not going to be Wedge unless they do like young Wedge, and this is after the Empire's fall. And again, mopping up remnants, which, like you said, seems to be right now what Disney's doing. Hey, let's just focus on the aftermath of this, which you should have done in the first place. Let's just focus on the aftermath of the, rebellion against the Empire. I'm excited as shit for this one. I love, for Star Wars, to me, I know a lot of people love the Jedis. I am a space battle dude. That is what makes me and my love for Star Wars grow. That's why I hate that Squadrons game that just came out, because it's damn near impossible to play. Stupid game. But I absolutely love the space battles. When I saw them attack the first Death Star, fuck that. When they left the Death Star the first time and the TIE Fighters was following the Millennium Falcon and they got into the gun turrets and shit, I was enamored. So at the end, when the X-Wings go and blitz the Death Star, this was movie perfection. Until Return of the Jedi, when they go to blitz the second Death Star, nothing has come. Rogue Squadron is the only thing that's come close to topping that in my book. Visually, it's way better. But toppling that in my book as for the best space fight sequence Rogue Squadron is going to give me. I mean, it's in the title. Space flight battles. This is a dream come true for me, bro. I know you're definitely not gonna be as passionate as I am about it, but your thoughts.
I never played Rogue Squadron, so
Shame on you. Shame on
yeah,
you.
it doesn't mean it. It's just another Star Wars movie.
Oh, he's
It's
terrible.
lower on the tier of things that I'm excited for, just because I really don't have that connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's Patty Jenkins, so it should be pretty good.
I was shocked. I was like, wait, Patty Jenkins is doing a Star Wars movie. I mean, I heard rumblings of that like a year ago. Um, and I was like, yeah, I guess that'd be dope. But she's got she's talking about Wonder Woman 3 and an Amazonian spinoff. You know, and now she's doing Rogue Squadron. Hey, bless your heart, Patty Jenkins. And I can't wait in 2 weeks to sit down and watch Wonder Woman 84 in my house. Um, but yeah, this Rogue Squadron thing, I'm it's those space battles, man. That's what makes me love Star Wars, the space battles. And don't get me wrong, I love the Force. I love the myth behind it. I love uh, seeing Ahsoka Tano on the Mandalorian. I love when she says, "Yeah, there was a great Jedi Master of his species sitting on the council." I was like, "Yes," things like that. Take this kid to the spire and place him on top of the rock, and then he will find like. Come on, all that stuff. Oh my god. Not to mention that Michael Biehn was in that episode. First off, I was like, wait,
Yeah,
is that Michael Biehn? Like, I was totally at. It was the day after Thanksgiving. I'm still sleeping and I'm watching it, and I'm like, is that Michael Biehn? Is that him? Like, I loved it. I loved it, man.
yeah. I knew he was gonna be in the season, but I was really surprised that like that's how he ended up.
I had no
It was
clue.
a pleasant.
Yeah, it was. The the lady Ahsoka fought. Does she have any history in the shows, like that you
No,
know of? Offhand?
no,
Nah, right?
that was her first appearance.
That's what I figured. Um, yeah. But at first, I thought she might have been like a fallen Jedi or something, or what do they call it? An Inquisitor, maybe a former
Mhm.
Inquisitor. I thought, but no, she was just some rando in the Star Wars universe who had power and was making things for the Imperials, which I thought again that was another dope thing. I love how they were just tearing apart that world and using its resources. You don't see that in Star Wars, so getting to see that in these offshoots is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we wrap up, let me ask you: do you think the Mandalorian is going to culminate into a movie,
I doubt it.
just straight TV show, right?
Yeah, I think so. At least I hope that's how it ends up. Maybe it'll get like some kind of big long, um, you know, it might end with a movie that's not quite a movie, like in an episode that's like an hour and a half or an hour 45, like movie length, but still definitively part like an episode or like a finale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I totally get you. What's your predictions for Star Wars in the future? Like, what are you hoping to see? What do you want to see? What do you don't want to see? Like, what going forward?
I expect that they're gonna focus more on um, probably on like giving fans what they've actually been asking for. Um, in a sense, that's fan service, but it's more so catering to what your audience actually wants. Um, Not just giving them little like, oh, I remember that reference. That's how I expect it to go. Is for Lucasfilm to like really listen to what the fans want. Um, I expect they're gonna try to distance themselves from the sequel trilogy and now all the kids that watch the prequels, they're like, and all the kids that watch the prequels and actually like the prequels, I was one of those kids. We're all grown up now, and like we're all paying for Disney Plus, so like they're gonna probably, and with Filoni at the helm too, or one of the heads, they're gonna probably introduce a lot more elements of prequel era stuff, which they've already been doing.
Yeah.
I just want to see what I want to see. I just want to see good Star Wars content. I just want to see good stories being told, whether that's with characters that we know and love, or whether that's brand new characters. What I don't want to see is just blatant reference culture shit. I don't want it to turn into like a super quippy Marvel movie where Peter Parker says, "Oh, you guys know that old movie Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back?" Like, just say Star Wars, man. Everybody knows what you're talking about. It's not funny or cute that you think that Empire Strikes Back is a really old movie.
But it really was an old movie. It was like 1981.
Or
it makes sense.
So, Star Wars is timeless.
That's true.
I don't watch A New Hope and think, man, this was a movie from the 70s, because it doesn't feel like a movie from the 70s. And Empire and Jedi don't feel like movies from the early 80s. It feels like Star Wars. That's what it is.
Yeah, there's definitely not a date on that. You're right.
So I don't want Star Wars to just become a circle jerk of just references to other Star Wars things, without it meaning anything. Because if we want that, we can just all go read Ready Player 2.
You know what? What is your beef with the Ready Player One franchise? Unbelievable.
We have there's entire like tirades of me going on about Ready Player One, and I suppose I haven't done any about Ready Player 2, but there's entire tirades on various podcasts on this channel, explaining why.
Well, I agree
with you.
You don't
need to open that can of worms again.
No, I will not. I do agree with you. I don't think they're going to, as long as Filoni and Favreau are at the helm, I don't see them doing the, hey, check this out thing. If they do, it's going to make sense for the story and, the overall arc of the show, whatever show it may be, or movie. I could see that a lot of the references come in Ahsoka, absolutely. She cut her teeth during the Clone Wars, so that's going to be a lot of that playing into it. Which I can't even begin to say like what the hell is that show going to be about. But I'm afraid that it's going to culminate in her death, which I guess makes sense. Dave Filoni brings her in, Dave Filoni takes her out. That's fine. But I agree with you. For me, I'm going to be one of those people. I'm going to be one of them people who grew up with Star Wars. I want to see a Luke Skywalker something. I want to see it. We didn't get it. And I've said this a million times too on these podcasts. Not my Luke Skywalker. Like, it's unfortunate, but what they did to Luke in the sequel trilogy, and I'm not talking about he needed to be the baddest motherfucker on the block, but he needed to be a bad mofo. Like, you looked at Mace Windu and you knew that was a bad motherfucker. Not because it was Samuel L. Jackson, even though it had a lot to do with it, but he had a purple lightsaber. Who the fuck does that? Like, off the bat, that just showed you, yeah, he's different. And, that's what I wanted to see from Luke. I wanted to see Luke be that badass. They didn't show it. And it was unfortunate. So if you could do it now in the past, where Luke is now in his prime, I'm okay with that. That's actually what I wish we would have gotten, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. I wish George Lucas would have been like, okay, we're done with this. In about 5 years, we're going to do the next set of movies. So get ready, take your time, do your thing, and then we're going to come back and do this. I would have loved to see episodes, 7, 8, and 9 in like 1989.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to see it jump off there. We didn't get it. But today we can do it. Disney Plus has the power. It has the the forum to do it and the outlet. And I think that's what I want. Like, I do. I don't want a whole Luke Skywalker show. If you're going to do that, I think you need to do that animated. But I would really like to see Luke Skywalker in something and showcasing his abilities, showcasing why he goes down as one of the greatest of all time, because they didn't do that justice at all. They played him, they made him a chump in the sequel trilogy, and it just hurts. It hurts because that is like my favorite hero, and I'm like I want to see his badass potential. We got it with Anakin. Think about it. We got to see Anakin in his glory during the Clone Wars. Like, you could see it. He was nasty. I want to see that for Luke Skywalker. And like I said, if it has to be done in animation, so be it. But I would love to see him pop up in like an Ahsoka Tano show, and yeah, that would make I would be put to ease. Outside of that, what I don't want to see, I don't want to see anything right now. Like, they're not doing it, but I don't want to see any more sequel trilogy. I don't want to see another holiday special. That's what I don't want to see another holiday special. That's what I don't want. Do anything else? No, and honestly, I can't lie. I don't want to see a Solo sequel. Even though Lando, I'm excited for that, especially if they go down the route where they're playing with the underbelly of the dregs of society. That's cool. But I don't need that to culminate into a movie. So, anyway, that's about it. But yeah, bro.
I think we're mostly on the same page.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to be entertained for the next several years. And I think by the time these shows run their course, Disney is going to be like, okay, now we can focus on a brand new set of Star Wars movies. And I think we as fans will be satisfied enough to say, okay, bring it on.
Yeah, giving us enough options to explore outside of the Skywalker saga would be good.
Absolutely. Well, listen, brother, man. Thank you for hanging out with me for an hour and 12 minutes.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I miss you. I appreciate you being on. And, yeah, we got to do this again soon. I guess, whether it's on the podcast or not, next week is the end of Mandalorian. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so, too.
All right, well, brother, that'll do it for this episode of Star Wars Geek Out. I'm G1, and we are out of here. Peace.